Spanish teacher here at Trevor Brown, been here for the last 9 years.
My name's Amy Baeza.
Okay.
I'm a teacher. I teach U.S. History in Abbott.
Coach Grills.
I'm Jamie Castro. I teach math.
My name is Alex Lucero.
Well, I went to school here.
Brief history about myself. Moved out here to Arizona back in 1997, coming from California. When I moved here, began going to Trevor Brown, and I graduated from Trevor Brown in 2000.
Yes, I was born and raised in Phoenix. I actually grew up right across the street. I was born in Phoenix, like I said, and I lived here until I graduated, and then I moved to California for about almost a year and then moved back.
Coach Grills. I graduated from Trevor Brown in 1996. I was a football player, 2 years on the varsity. I was also a 4-year varsity track athlete here at Trevor Brown.
I graduated from Trevor Brown. I lived in the area for quite a bit of time. I live in Avondale now, which is not too far away. So kind of been here my whole life.
I attended Trevor Brown from 1997 to 2000. I came back and started working at Trevor Brown again as a student assistant in 2004, and I started teaching here in 2006 in the social studies department.
Graduated from here. Both my sisters actually went to school here too, and at the time it was in the 70s, and there were a lot of differences. There's several other people on campus that work here that graduated from here, but I am the oldest, I believe, as far as I know. Nobody else really went to school here in the 70s and graduated in 1980.
Trevor Brown has changed. Well, the quantity of students attending the school has changed. It's upped significantly. Also, the student participation has changed a lot. There's not too much participation. The majority of the participation comes amongst the same students. It seems like every year.
I actually think it's more peaceful now than it was back then. I attended Trevor Brown between 94 and 98, and I don't know, it just seems like things are less tense now. So
okay.
I think it's improved.
Some new buildings, a lot more kids. Other than that, it's pretty much the same.
When I was in high school, most people were white. Just a few Hispanics people. It's changed quite a bit. It was a lot of farmland still, a lot of rural areas. The mall was still there, so that's always been. But it's changed quite a bit.
It was a little bit more diverse when I was a Trevor Brown student as far as the population. Now it's like 90% Hispanic. Back then it was probably like 60% Hispanic. Students, I guess school spirit tends to seems to simmer down a little bit, so I know that's one of the bigger things. Just not as much community from when I went to school, it seems like.
Well, some of the differences, I point out to the kids, one of the funny thing is between the cafeteria and the library, there were lockers. Everybody had a locker. And one of the funny things is there were 3 lockers. There was a top one, a middle one, and a bottom one. And nobody wanted the bottom one because you had to, scrunch down on the ground to get your stuff. And nobody really wanted the top one because it was pretty high up. So everybody wanted a middle one. And we never could figure out what the trick was to get a middle locker. You know how there's always a trick to something, but it was just random. So when you got your locker distributed to you, you just always hoped you had a middle locker. Other than that, the mall was just being built. So most of the things around here were just fields. There was a field between here and Circle K. That was it. There was no wall up over there or anything. It was just trees, so you could easily just walk back and forth. And it was an open campus. We used to go home for lunch and everything. I lived just right across the street over on Thomas, or just off of Thomas. And we used to go home for lunch and all kinds of stuff, and then just come back. So those are a few of the differences I've seen.
Some of the teachers I looked up the most in high school were my coaches, simply because I had lots of interaction with them, and I was around, like I said, I was around them the most, and they were the ones that influenced me the most in some of my decisions that I made in school and in life.
Teachers that were my favorite. One was my U.S. history teacher. His name is Mr. Bonet Castillo, and he really inspired me to study history. That's what really, before that, I never had too much interest in history until the way he taught it really sparked my attention. The second one is Miss White, and she was my senior year marketing teacher. And I really liked her because she really treated us like adults. And I really always appreciated that.
My head football coach, Bill Mitten, and then my history teacher, Ann Bruce.
I really liked Mr. Reynoso, and he's actually still in our district. He's an administrator now at Metro Tech High School. But most of my education prior to Mr. Reynoso, the teachers had students in seats, and it was just the teacher talking and us taking notes and maybe sometimes asking questions. And Mr. Reynoso, way back then, had us in groups already, talking to each other, giving us problems to work out, and that was really different. I thought it was pretty cool.
I had a couple of them. One of them is actually one of my social studies teacher was Miss Bruce. She was actually my U.S. history teacher, and I looked up to her because of the passion that she kind of had for U.S. history and the passion that she had for her students. So I appreciated that.
Oh yeah, Mr. Ashley. Mr. Ashley actually had a lot to do with me being a teacher. I remember the coolest thing that he did was Mr. Ashley was a American history teacher. So one day we went to class, and a little while later, after class started, Mr. Ashley was pushing in the television. This is back when they had the television on the cards. Oh, yeah, we're going to see a video today. And he looked at us and he said, this is American history. And today we're going to watch history in the making. And he turned on the World Series. And this is when the World Series was on during the day. So we watched the World Series, and I thought, man, this is cool. Teachers are like regular people. They watch baseball, they go to movies, they go out to dinner, whatever. They're just regular people. It'd probably be pretty cool to be a teacher. That, a lot of people would say today that would wonder if the kids were probably really getting an education watching the World Series, but it had an impact on me. Let me realize that teachers are just people too, and they like stuff just like everybody.
Wanting to become a teacher at Trevor Brown was just being a product of the environment, and also just having, like I said, some of my coaches were teachers, and having them give me good advice. It made me want to do the same, to go to college, become a teacher, come back, and give back to kids that were in my situation.
I always knew that eventually I wanted to come back because this is my community. I still feel a part of it, so I just felt the need and the purpose to come back and teach.
Honestly, I just really enjoyed working with kids as I kind of got older. Playing in college, playing football in college, I kind of knew I wanted to get in coaching, and I just really enjoyed working with kids, so I thought teaching would be the best outlet for me to do that.
Actually, I became a teacher at Trevor Brown because I wanted to coach and help out with student council. It wasn't about the math in the beginning. It was kind of about hanging out with kids still. And that's what really encouraged me, is I wanted to make a difference in them in some clubs and different activities.
My mom's actually a teacher. She taught for 29 years in Chandler. I don't know, just something about Trevor Brown that I love. The community that was established when I was here. Just my father was a business owner in the area, so I was always around. I kind of was brought up on Trevor Brown, so I just have pride in it. So that's the reason why, primarily why I came back. Wanted to give back to the community that raised me, basically. I
would say I've always liked working with kids. When I was in high school, I used to work with little kids. I coached little kids basketball and everything. Then when I got older, like in my 20s, I started working with like junior high age kids, and I worked at the Boys and Girls Club, and I coached junior high age basketball. Then as I got older, on up into my 30s and 40s, and we don't even talk about how much beyond that I am now, but I started coaching and teaching high school age kids. So I've always worked with kids or students in some way. So that was probably my motivation, is I always knew I wanted to work with kids.
all of my teachers, what they passed down to me when I was coming here. In some aspects, I would say it was negative. Some of the things I learned from them is, because they were quick to judge. So by me becoming a teacher, I always, told myself, don't judge. Always get to know the students first, no matter what their background may be. So in that aspect, that's what I took away from it. But actually become a teacher, there wasn't too much given there.
Relating to how they related to students, I was always like, I mentioned my favorite teacher in my senior year. She always spoke to us with respect and never talked down to us. And so I always carried that on. And so when I talk to my students, I talk to them, I think, with a lot of respect. And yeah, so that's basically what I carried on. As far as like content, I think my favorite teacher, which was my U.S. history teacher, I learned from him like a passion for teaching the subject. So I get really excited sometimes to the point where I tell my students, like, you gotta be too school for cool sometimes, and really, have a passion for the things you're interested in. And so I kind of get carried away a little now and then, but that's what I carry on from.
Just being prepared for anything that might occur during the class day or the school day, and just try to make the day fun.
I student taught with my former 8th grade teacher at Astoria Middle School, and she really taught me about classroom management. Like, she had those kids, and she was a teacher that sat kids in rows, and but she would tell me how to talk to them, like, and that was really important for me, because kids can walk all over if you don't know how to talk to your students. They'll take advantage.
I think the biggest thing she taught me was just be passionate about what you do. Be passionate about what you do, and one of the harder things I had to learn even back then was
please report to the counseling office. Ms.
be
Dallas,
accountable,
please
be
report
where
to
you're
the
supposed to
counseling
be when you're
office.
supposed to
Thank
be,
you.
that type of stuff. And those are the things I took from her, but mainly to have passionate and for what you do and be compassionate towards your students.
Other than just be yourself, be calm, and I think that's what I try to do in the class. I had a student a while back that told me, Mr. Croft, you're like the most calm teacher on the whole campus. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, well, like if somebody has their phone out or something, you'll like go up to them and ask them to put it away or whatever, and they usually do because you're not all freaked out about it. and I I guess that makes sense. I try to be like down to earth, I guess, with the students. And if you show them that you care about them, and you're just trying to increase their education opportunities, I think that they respond to you better. So I would say that's teachers who taught me that. How to be yourself and how to interact with students was probably the biggest motivation.
As a TGB teacher, is just seeing some of the kids that go on and they do well in life and they do well in school, and they come back and they see you, and you get to talk to them and you get to see how their life has become and how they've grown so much. And then some of the ones that come back and they want to do the same things that you do, like becoming a teacher, and they say that you had a big influence in their life, even if they don't go do well with college or anything else. Just some of the students, some of the kids that change their aspect, that change their view in life, and they turn over a new leaf and they become a good product of society.
Actually, it's these guys that are in this class right now. It's my AVID class. I was very fortunate to start with them their freshman year, and so now they're seniors. And so it's been a great 4 years. And so particularly the parties that they throw me for my birthday have been outstanding. So they always surprise me every year, and it's always a lot of fun.
Favorite memories. A lot of my former students, especially my former athletes, come back to visit. That's always a blessing. It's really nice to have.
My favorite memories are probably going on the AVID trip a few years ago, like the training trip. I had a lot of fun with some of the staff, just getting to know them outside of school. And then in addition to that, I really like putting on Powder Puff every year for our campus. It's fun, and I think it's kind of making a history.
I think it's more so just it's the conversations you have in class sometimes with students, the personalities you come across, the funny things the students say sometimes. You know, just that, I don't know how to say it, but kind of like a sense of family, like within the classroom. I kind of enjoy that part.
Favorite memories? You mean besides graduation? Well, that was back in the day when they actually had graduation down on the football field too. It wasn't at any giant arena or anything like that. I would say playing basketball here. I played basketball here, and it's pretty cool to come back to where you played and you were a student, and now you're a coach and a teacher. So it's pretty cool to come back to that. As far as other memories, we used to have dances here. Like every Friday, there was a dance. Like if there was a football or basketball home game, there was a dance afterwards, like guaranteed for sure. And that was pretty fun. You know, like I said, I remember the mall being built. And that was pretty cool because, you know, we were gonna have a mall around. And just having the open campus and just getting to leave campus for lunch and that kind of thing was pretty cool. Of course, getting back after lunch was always kind of a little bit of a challenge, you know.
It's a challenge being in the same school because when you've been here for so long, you remember how it used to be, and then when things change, sometimes being old, you don't want change. So it's difficult knowing how Trevor Brown used to be when it came to participation amongst students and everything else, just the school atmosphere. And seeing the way things have gone to where there's not too much student participation, there's not much competition between students and everything else. So it's tough being an alumni and seeing how things have changed.
I'll be honest, sometimes I think I might be too lenient because I identify a lot with the students here since I was a student here myself. However, I think this is what makes me try to be the best teacher I can because I feel so close to my students and my community.
Not a challenge at all. I mean, I went to school here for 4 years, and I feel very comfortable here for the most part.
It's not a challenge at all. At first I thought I might be intimidated by former teachers, but none of them are around anymore. There was one or two, but they've all retired. Miss Silk was my dance teacher, and Miss Clark taught here, but she was never my teacher. So I don't really have that. I don't have that hanging over my head right now.
Here, I know for sure it was very awkward being back, not as a student and seeing everything the way that it was, but being here as an employee, as a teacher on the other side of the fence. So that was kind of awkward and hard to adapt to at first, but I knew how to get around. I knew all the ins and outs of the school, so I know it kind of helped me out when students say, "Oh, I can't get here," or "I couldn't do that," or I know what they're telling, legitimately is the truth and what isn't.
It's so different. It really doesn't seem. It almost doesn't really even seem like the same place. It's so different. Because the school has been remodeled a little bit. The classrooms have all been changed. We used to have these classrooms that just had a big curtain in between the rooms, and they like pulled this curtain, and there wasn't a wall. So like if this class only had like 15 kids in it, and the class next to it had 30 kids, they could adjust the curtain so that room was a little bit bigger and this room was a little bit smaller. So there were a lot of differences like that. The gym doesn't even look the same. When I played basketball here, we had a gym that had a rubber floor. We were like a pilot school to try this big idea they had that gyms will be better somehow if they have rubber floors. So we had a rubber basketball court. So, like I said before, we had the lockers out there and everything. So there's a lot of similarities, but a lot of things are different. Maybe the teachers who went to school here like in the 90s and stuff like that, probably a lot more similar to them. But for somebody who went to school here in the 70s, when the school is only a few years old, there's a lot of differences.
My students, it's easy for me because I never forget where I came from. I know what it feels like to sit in these seats and look at the teacher and live in the neighborhood, so I can relate to them. So I get to know my students on, on their status, on their basis, and I figure out who they are and how they work, and I motivate them from there because I can relate to them.
I try to teach them skills, more like life skills, as far as how to be independent learners and to be responsible for their own learning. Some specific things that I do, I would say just kind of having them reflect on their own progress in class, to make their own goals authentic or meaningful for them, so that they're more invested on actually following through.
Students. I'm a pretty engaging guy, and I think my appearance by itself is pretty motivating in terms of kids needing to do what they need to do.
I scare them. I try to interact with them and let them know that I care about them and I care about their grades so that they try to do better.
Like I said, just like what I learned from my teacher in high school, just be passionate about what you do and just try to show them that you care about them. I mean, if people know you care about them, they'll go the extra mile for you and do what you ask of them.
Like I said, I think you have to let them know first that you care about them and that you're here for them, and you're a person, they're a person, and we're all just trying to get through this whole educational process. I try to convince them that we want you to succeed. A lot of times, students think that the teachers are against them, and the teachers want them to fail, and they don't want them to pass, and they want them to get in trouble. No, I want you to succeed. So I think when I get them to buy into that, they're maybe a little bit more motivated. I had a student or a teacher tell me once that a student told her that the biggest thing that they like about me is I care about them. So I try to show them that, and I think that sometimes that gives them a little more motivation.
I wish we would have less students. I wish we could have more participation among students when it comes to spirit weeks, when it comes to football, basketball, baseball games. In that aspect, I wish the students would participate.
Please report to the SPED office.
I would love to see our homecoming parades come back, because that's one of my special memories when I attended school here. We would always have the parades right off 75th, and many different floats from the clubs on campus. So I would love to see that come back. We used to do these class chants. So like the graduating class of '98, we would have our chants, and then each of before and after. But I think we're doing an awesome job already in upping the school spirit here. So I just like to see that continue. So.
Okay.
I really feel like the staff and student connectedness could be a lot more. I wish that more staff would be involved in what's happening on campus. A lot of staff don't go to events outside of the classroom, and it would be really great to see other people go to football games or other people go to plays. It seems like it's the same solid 20 or 30 teachers going to everything, and there's like 200 of us that could make a difference.
Just student morale and just overall, I guess you could say, just spirit of having pride in Trevor Brown. I mean, that's just something that I recall in high school, and a lot of it, and just more activities and things for the students, Just seems like, and I know we try to do that, and it's hard, it's difficult having 3,000 students, but just having more events for our students to want to come to school and stay after school and do things. So just in that sense, and then also just having pride and just educating themselves. That's the biggest thing. Just give their effort that I know they're capable of, and not settle just for being just okay.
Well, maybe like I said about the dances and stuff like that. More activities, I think, for the kids outside of the school day. I know we had a carnival a couple weeks ago. That was pretty good. They're talking about making that a regular thing. So I would say increase of extracurricular activities, maybe a little increase in school spirit. like to see more people get out to the sporting events and things like that.